I'm Caitlin.
I'm Megan.
And I'm Greta.
And today we'll be talking about our hydrogen-powered locomotive. So our problem statement is that we need to come up with a more energy-efficient alternative to diesel fuel cells that also produce little to few emissions. So our agenda is the problem, stakeholder requirements, concepts, prototype demonstration, conclusions, and references.
So this is an overview of our stakeholder requirements. We decided that there were three main stakeholders, the manufacturers and the users, specifically passengers and the conductors or crew. Our first one is that it must be cost efficient to manufacture. We recognize that hydrogen fuel cell transportation is very costly, and thus we must take cost efficiency into account. Our second one are safety features in the case of an accident, and the stakeholders for this are the passengers. Our last two requirements deal with the users, specifically the crew. First, there needs to be efficient, long-lasting power that can make an entire route. And the second one is that it must be easy and quick to refuel. This also came into play when we decided between lithium-ion battery and hydrogen fuel cell power, as lithium-ion batteries take a while to recharge, while hydrogen can be refueled very quickly. This is the first concept. This is the hydrogen power source within a cab. For this concept, I chose to prioritize the amount of hydrogen that we could fit in, and I put in two very large hydrogen tanks connected to a refuel port on the bottom left corner that allows the hydrogen tanks to be refueled from the bottom of the train. And this is in a separate chamber, which is separated by a barrier wall from the fuel cell stacks, which generate the power from the hydrogen.
So this is the second concept, which I mainly focused on the requirement of easy to access, where I put the hydrogen fuel cells that power the hydrogen tanks on top of the train, and I did that for storage reasons as well.
This is the third concept and my concept. So mine's very similar to Caitlin's, where I put the tanks and fuel cells on top of the train to maximize storage inside the train, but we realized that this wouldn't work because we'd have to redimension the train itself so it could fit under tunnels and stuff like that.
This is my design, and I chose to have smaller tanks, and I also chose to have these tanks inside the train. The tanks are smaller because I anticipate that in the future, these will be more readily available due to hydrogen-powered cars. For our prototype, we decided to have the standard 160-liter tank, which is made by Maytech. We anticipate that these will be easily available for our use. And we also hollowed out a section of the train. Here we have the hydrogen fuel cells in red and the shell, which encases the hydrogen tanks in green. The hydrogen tanks are in yellow. And we also see a pipe that runs through all of the hydrogen that allows for easy refueling from the top of the train. Here we have the hydrogen tank seen again. We also have a wall, which you can see in red, that separates the hydrogen tanks from the fuel cells. And we also can see that the green is the protective shell, once again covering the hydrogen tanks. And we chose to have 6 hydrogen tanks because it optimizes the amount of energy we need for the California route.
And then in conclusion, we talked about today problem, stakeholder requirements, went through each of our concepts, prototype demonstration, and then the conclusions, and then these are our references.